Hello everyone, can you hear me okay also in the back? Wonderful. Thank you so much for inviting me to Lodz. I've been to Poland many times, but not to this beautiful city. Slavik explained to me a little bit in the car the history of the city, all of the textile industry that was here, and I think, you've shifted very, very elegantly from textile to tech style. So, no, maybe not the marketing, advertising person yet, so I'll work on that. Look, what I want to do really today is set Lucas and Helmut up a little bit for how we're thinking at Qlik, because I'm in corporate strategy. I head up the market intelligence team. We look at the markets, we look at trends, we look at what's going on, and I want to share some of that with you and what Qlik is doing in the context of that. I think that there's really something wrong with this title. This is the title I was given to work with. Wherever there's data, there is opportunity. So I went in and fixed it. Wherever there is good data, there is opportunity. That's a huge distinction because I see two massive things that everyone is talking about right now. The first one is authenticity, and the second one is value. And I will go into both of these specifically and how we're addressing it. Because everyone is talking about AI right now. Every corporate presentation you will go to will start something like this. It's a little bit like teenage sex. Dare I say that in a Catholic country? I don't know, but it's like everyone is talking about it. Everyone says they're doing it. No one's really doing it, or they're not doing it properly, right? So it's kind of like big data if you go back 20 years ago. And all of the executives right now are saying, we want some of that AI. Okay, well, if you don't do it, you fall behind. But if you do it, well, what should you be doing? What should you be doing? That is the big question that the entire industry is asking right now. And I hear a little bit of a static. I don't know if you can fix that. Is the sound, let me see. It's fine? Okay. So, I said the first big challenge that we're trying to address is this notion of authenticity, right? This is very old. Like those of you who have been in the data and analytics space, you've been speaking about garbage in, garbage out for 20, 30 years. This is almost a cliche in the industry. The only thing is, I think this is becoming massively, massively bigger. In fact, we've gotten to the point where generative AI has used up all of the textual information almost that exists in the world. So that's a challenge. At the same time, generative AI is creating its own information, it's generating its own information. So we have this situation now where generative AI can't use much more new information, but it's spitting out its own information. So it's getting high on its own exhaust. Right? It's like a car that's in a garage. The air is getting worse and worse and worse. At the same time, as a consequence of this, companies are taking their quality information and they're putting it behind a paywall. More and more news organizations are putting their information behind a paywall. Because Sam Altman of OpenAI, he's openly said that for AI to reach the next level, we need to access your corporate IP. So he wants to access your corporate data without paying for it. And that's why we're seeing a bunch of lawsuits right now, right? New York Times is suing OpenAI. So that's an interesting dynamic. The data quality is getting worse, and we might get to a point where we have an authenticity crisis, where we will struggle to see the signal, which is important, from the noise. The noise will drown out all of the signal. So that's the kind of situation we're in right now. And here's another cliche. In that world, your corporate data will be gold, right? Sam Altman said that corporate data will be the next thing that he wants to go after to improve the models. If you can make your corporate data really good, it's going to be so valuable for you. But it needs to stand on a solid foundation. If you have a house and you build that on quicksand, that's a very, very weak foundation. So you know when I said at the beginning, we should do something with AI, but what? Well, I think everyone is coming to the realization that if you don't have a solid data foundation, you can't really get to anywhere. So this really is the first step that you have to address. So data trust, data stewardship, data quality, data lineage, data, all of these things with data first is becoming massively, massively important in organizations. And it's not easy. Many of you have been working with data for a long time. This data statistic is not new, even though it's McKinsey here that says that almost 3/4 of managers see that as one of the top challenges preventing them from scaling AI. But it's been similar, like I don't know if you follow BARC, it's a German research firm. Every year they ask, what's your biggest challenges when it comes to data and analytics and AI? And every year data quality is in the #1 spot. So clearly this is a huge challenge which has become much, much bigger in this world of AI. But it's also a huge opportunity for you. If you work with data and analytics, that is the biggest opportunity that organizations have when your corporate data is becoming this gold. But your role needs to evolve. So I built this with generative AI in 5 minutes, and you probably see it. I'm not a professional visualization person, but I just want to drive home the point that your role needs to evolve. It needs to evolve to a gatekeeper. You need to make sure that in all of that noisy data out there, in all that authenticity crisis, that you only bring in quality data sets. You also need to make sure that you only feed your internal AI models with quality data. So you need to become a gatekeeper. You also need to become a refiner, right? We've mainly worked with tabular data, rows and columns, but that's only a minority of all the data in your organization. What other data are you sitting on that could become hugely valuable? Think about Elon Musk and what he's doing with Tesla. He's basically generating data with every car that's out there on the roads, constantly collecting data, constantly analyzing data. And that is why he has such a lead when it comes to self-driving cars, for example. What data are you sitting on that you can refine in your organization? Because there are new opportunities now in the world of AI, of analyzing new sorts of data that you couldn't analyze before. And then you need to become a broker, because you need to take that information and turn it into a valuable product that you can sell internally in a marketplace. And I think in the future, in this world where corporate IP is your gold, you can even sell it externally over time. That's what I foresee. So I think in this world, when we did Qlik Connect in Orlando, it was back in May, I think, right? NASA was there. And they very impressively had their head of AI there, Greg Robinson, who was telling basically the story of the Webb telescope. The Webb telescope is a new telescope that they spent $10 billion on. It's a telescope that they can send further out into space, much further than the current Hubble telescope. And out there, it's collecting a lot of information, infrared data. So there's a lot of noise there. And his job is basically to use AI and separate the signal, literally the signal from the noise, so that we can get much, much more insights around areas like the star formations. We can learn about planetary science. We can learn a lot more about the early universe. And what you're seeing on this screen is just the difference between the old telescope and the new telescope. This is 6,500 light years away. And this is the world before AI, this is the world after AI. If you leverage all of its powers and you can separate signal from the noise, you get much, much more clarity, right? So it's a good metaphor for what you can do in your organizations. So we spoke about authenticity. This is a huge crisis that we need to address. The other piece I want to address is AI value. Because I think as an industry right now, we're spending more on AI than we're receiving, right? We're still in a situation when we're building out the infrastructure. Build it and we hope that they will come. Every NVIDIA chip that is getting produced is sold immediately. It's sold to the top IT companies in the world, but most of those IT companies don't really know what to do with these H100. They almost buy the chips, because if I buy the chip, my competitor can't buy the chip on a limited supply. So it's like a zero-sum game, but they don't have it fully figured out what they want to do with these chips yet. So we might get to some sort of an AI bubble that may burst. And that sounds familiar for the older people in the room, like me. You remember the dot-com bubble, right? It was a similar situation. But then the companies weren't called NVIDIA, they were called Cisco. They were called Ericsson. They were the most valuable companies in the world then. And what they did was build out the routers, the switches, the networks, the broadband infrastructure. We didn't really know what we were going to do with that. And there was a little bit of a dip, but that massive build out of the infrastructure basically enabled us to do really cheap innovation. It only took a few years, right? We saw a similar thing when the iPhone came out in 2007. Amazing, but it took a little while before we went from flashlight on the phone to really cool apps like Spotify and DoorDash and Uber Eats and all of the things that you're using today. That window was shorter, maybe it was just a couple of years. And I think in the age of AI, it will be even shorter, that window. But there's clearly still a gap between the value and the reality that we're seeing. And this is what I want to show with this slide here. Even though I think it's 97% of executives understand that generative AI will be very, very important for their business, the stats are lagging a little bit. Only 25% have a formalized IT strategy. Only 18% are currently realizing value with generative AI. We see approximately 35 to 40% of organizations having prototypes of AI applications built. And less than 10% feel that they have implemented AI responsibly. About a third have an AI-skilled workforce, and only 10% can scale AI. Remember when I showed that first stat? 3/4 see this as the biggest challenge to scale AI, is data management. So that's where organizations are. But we already see at Qlik many excellent examples of organizations building the foundation, building that trusted foundation for AI. We've got Model and Model Group, and they are using Qlik's change data capture capabilities to modernize their data, moving it from legacy sources to more modern data sources where they can analyze the data in real time in Qlik Cloud. We're seeing Volvo IT, and I think they're here in Poland. They basically it took them only 3 months to get their payback with Qlik as they were automating their processes, and they got a return on investment. For every dollar they put in, they get a 40% return on investment. And then we have Carrefour in Romania, also not really in the region, but in the vicinity. They saw, when they were using Talend, upwards of 75% improvement in their development time, which made their return on investment much, much quicker. So these companies are getting the foundations right. Well, what about the AI on top? Well, because we're building a lot of this into the platform, we see many of the organizations that use Qlik already receiving that value from the AI investments. But we're only getting started, right? However, our philosophy is that for analytics and AI to be valuable, you got to build it into the workflows, into the processes, into the moments when you have those fleeting opportunities. That's when you want to capture the opportunity, right? And this is where I think AI and analytics will play in synergy with each other. You know, I've heard this, well, won't AI replace analytics? Well, we certainly don't think so. We think that AI will augment analytics, and we think that analytics will augment AI. How many of you have played with advanced data analysis or code interpreter in OpenAI? Any hands? A few. It's getting better, but it's still struggling a little bit with the numbers. And the thing is, you ask the same question again and you get a different answer. That won't necessarily cut it in a corporate environment, right? So it might replace some analytics, but it's not going to replace the deep embedded analytics. It's not going to replace the rich analytical applications that you go into where you get answers every day. However, I do think that analytics will increasingly not just serve humans, us, but it's also going to serve the AI. So it's going to be an interplay between these two, I think. So that's our philosophy when it comes to analytics. We want to do business where you do business, in your moments, in your processes. And the way that we try to separate this, many of our competitors, they say, we can help you with AI, but give us your data. Give us all your data, and then we'll help you with AI. We don't think that's the right approach. We don't think that's the right approach at all, because we think that you have data in many different places, in many different forms, and like locking that down in one stack is not the right way to approach it, because your data will be distributed. That's our bet, at least. Other vendors are saying, we can help you with AI, but you need to move all of your data to the cloud. Well, we don't think that's the right approach either. We're all in Europe. I'm based in Stockholm. And there are, in public sector and in many places, it's not just that easy to move all of the data to the cloud. We know that for regulatory purposes and other purposes. So our philosophy is we want to move at the speed that you want to move. We're here to help you rather than to force all of your data and all of your analytics to the cloud immediately. Of course, we also see the cloud as cloud first and where it's all heading, but we have to move at the pace of what our customers is moving. The other philosophy that we have is this notion of an end-to-end data, analytics, AI, and automation platform. For the last 5 years, and I think the title that they put up was the next era for Qlik, or the next phase for Qlik, we realized that where the world is heading. And we started acquiring companies. You know, we acquired Attunity about 5 years ago, I think now, and recently we also acquired Talend. And we've spent the last couple of years integrating these so that you can have that end-to-end data and analytics and AI and automation platform. But very importantly, one that can interoperate with all of your other environments out there. So at this point, Qlik has become a pretty big company in its 30 years of existence. We have 40,000 customers, and I heard from Slavik we have upwards of 1,000 customers here in Poland. We have 2,000 partners, and we work with some of the biggest customers in the world. I spoke to the executive advisory board a few weeks ago. I'm heading tomorrow to Lund in Sweden, where I'm going to meet with the biggest luminaries and the biggest partners that we work with. And we get their feedback all the time. And what they're telling us is they see 5 key needs to accelerate that AI adoption, to accelerate the value. And it's basically, number 1, you have to move the data. In a very chaotic world, you have to move and modernize the data from many, many sources to many, many targets. It looks messy, so therefore we have to have the best data movement and data transformation capabilities in the world. And it has to happen in real time, right? In the world of AI, you cannot have data latency like you could previously. Trust. I spent several minutes speaking about authenticity. This will be one of the biggest topics for the 21st century. You need to trust your data. So data quality, data stewardship, data lineage. Where does the data come from? How did we arrive at this number? Is becoming more and more important, right? You want to access the data. So you want to find a place where those who produce the data and those who consume the data can meet, some sort of a marketplace. So we want to focus on that. That's very, very important. Things like catalogs, and I know you will speak about that, Helmut, later in the afternoon. And then we want to evolve analytics, right? To next level embedded analytics, rich dashboards, but also where you can predict increasingly, and where you can also get all kinds of answers to your data. That's a little bit of a signal for what I will be talking about later, so that you can make more richer, informed decisions. And then finally, you want to act on that data as well. Increasingly, we're seeing this world of, it's not just about alerting, it's increasingly about automation and agents. This is the latest trend after AI, right? Everyone's starting to speak about agents, virtual assistants that will go out and do tasks for you. So it's really important that we focus on these 5 different areas. So that is the best-in-class data analytics and AI and automation platform that we've built. But I want to make the point that we can't do this on our own. So we have to work with these giants in the space, these different stacks. And I think that is our differentiation oxygen. If you only work with one of these stacks, you will get locked down into that stack and only use their tools. We want to interoperate with all of these, right? And that is why we've spent the last years integrating, as I said, these acquisitions that we've made. And that's why we can now announce Qlik Talent Cloud, which is the result of integrating the Attunity and the talent acquisition to this modern platform now, where we have many, many improvements, and they will speak about it in the afternoon, specifically Helmut. More than 200 connectors, most importantly things like SAP, which I know here in Poland many people are using. You have multi-pattern analytics that you can do, real-time streaming, ELT, ETL, several different editions that can fit where you are in the maturity cycle. But if there's 3 things that I could highlight that I'm most excited about with this platform, it's these 3 things here. Remember when I spoke about the gatekeeper, the refiner, and the broker? Well, here are 3 things that address the needs so that your role can evolve. A trust score for AI. This is IP from Talent, where they had a trust score. We're evolving that into a framework also for AI, to help you in that authenticity crisis, to help you separate the signal from the noise for all of the data that you're bringing in. It's going to help you as a gatekeeper. AI-ready data pipelines. It's no longer just about structured data. It's about unstructured data. It's about vectors. It's about chunking. It's about all of these multimodal data sources that are now coming. So we have to be prepared for increasingly new data sources, right? like Pinecone, multi-LLM, like Amazon Bedrock, Snowflake Cortex, etc., etc., Databricks. That will help you as a refiner for AI-ready data pipelines. And the data as a product, it will help you as that broker so that you can package up the data in your organization into a very compelling and sort of data quality ensured product that your users can consume, right? So you turn your corporate data into that gold. Well, what about the analytics? You know, this is the legacy and this is the core, and this continues to be super, super strategic for Qlik. But we have to evolve it, right? We understand that we need to come where you're working. We need to integrate into your business environments. So again, we're focusing on embedding analytics increasingly into things like Microsoft Teams, into using multiple different LLMs that we can work with, right? And then we also want to not just do the analysis. The analysis is Qlik's sort of legacy, right? And it's still the most powerful analytical tool in the world. It goes beyond just visualizations because you can do those many-to-many joins without losing the cardinality. You can basically see the entire data estate that you're asking questions from. What's related, what's not related, and that's something completely unique still in the industry, which will give you very, very rich answers. But we want to complement that. So we've acquired AutoML a few years ago, and now we've fully integrated that into Qlik Sense environments. So you can do things like key driver analysis, key predictions, and the most advanced but simple packaged up algorithms for predictive analytics and data science right there in the tool for you. So you have the entire ML Ops workflow in the Qlik Sense platform now. And then we want to be able to answer more questions, right? And that is a thing that has been difficult previously. I spoke about being the refiner and that there's still so much data that's unused in organizations. This is another one of those things that you'll hear on multiple places. 80% of the data in your organization is unstructured. And this has been really hard. I mean, the industry has been trying for many, many years to access this data. And that is why we now launched Qlik Answers, which is based on the most advanced kind of retrieval, augmentation, generation technologies. And what you can do is you can build this in other tools. You can get it in other tools, but you have to build it yourself. And many people don't want to do that. Here comes a packaged up for you. You can start using it in the Qlik environment right now, and you can start asking questions from your unstructured data. You drag and drop files into certain trusted environments, and it gives you answers with full lineage. It gives you answers with full trust that you would come to expect from Qlik. And we're using this ourselves. So as I said, I'm heading up the market intelligence team, and it has things like competitive intelligence, and we're seeing this change in front of our eyes. Where previously they had to come to, let's say, a SharePoint site and find our information. We're now just dragging and dropping what we think is curated, relevant information into what we call Sales AI. People go to this tool, Sales AI, and they can ask anything. Give me the top 3 differentiators against vendor X. And it just brings you that information. It's like magic. So it takes all of that unstructured information, crunches it, synthesizes it, and gives you an answer. Very, very powerful. So, you know, just think about what you can do with this, and you'll hear, I think it will be you, right, Lucas, that will speak a little bit more about this in the breakouts. So that's my presentation. There's really 2 things that I want to highlight, right? I mean, number one, you have to treat data, before you do anything else with AI, you have to build the foundation. There's no shortcuts. There's no way getting around that. Especially in this world of the authenticity crisis, where there's so much noisy data out there and AI is creating its own data, right? You want to explore new concepts like the AI trust scores, the AI pipelines, and data products. When it comes to accelerating the AI value, you want to focus on having an end-to-end platform that adapts to where you are in your journey, rather than vice versa, where you have to adapt to the platform. And we see that you can't solve everything with generative AI. You still have to have predictive AI, things like machine learning, predictive analytics, regression, etc. So you want to focus on that, and you want to use multimodal AI and data approaches. No longer are we in this world of just structured data, just one type of analysis. And this is all what we're thinking around and what we're building into the Qlik platform in this new world of AI. So that's my presentation. Thank you so much. And I think now I'm going to hand over to Lucas, who's going to take some of the things I very briefly spoke about. He's going to double-click on that and go a little bit deeper. And then after that, we're going to go even deeper in the breakouts, etc. So hopefully, no matter how technical you are, your questions will be answered at this conference. Thank you very much.